everybody. Raul here for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of chatting with the bassist for Godsticks, Dan Nelson.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks to the wonderful technology of Skype, Dan is in South Wales, and I'm in Washington State, and we're in the middle of the coronavirus situation on our planet. So this is a perfect social distancing way to be able to chat and find out and just like we're in the same room almost. So that said, let's go back to the past, Dan. How did you get started in music and on bass?
In a classic way, I started on guitar, like every bass player does. So I was in school, and then I think about 6 months into playing, someone just brought in like his dad's bass. I think it was like an SG copy. And I don't know why, I just thought, no one else plays that, so I'm going to maybe look into that. And it was just as I was starting to get into the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So then, like, obviously put two and two together, bass and Flea, and I was kind of sold then. So I probably picked up the bass then a couple of months later, and from that point, I think it must have been about 12 or 13. So from that point then, I've played really up until now.
And did you pursue studies, or are you self-taught?
So I guess a bit of both. Obviously, I had lessons in school, and then I did go to university for a year, but I kind of dropped out. At the time, I was just a bit busy playing and stuff, so I wasn't going that much. So. And then since then, I've really obviously just pursued things myself, really.
I think for a lot of people, and especially folks in the United States, there's been a big decrease in music education. And so I'm always happy to hear of places that continue to have programs in school that at least can get you kind of started with some of the things. Moving right along, Godsticks, how did that occur? How did you join the band?
But it was kind of through YouTube. I kind of knew the old bass player, and I remember someone putting me onto their stuff, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. It was like, because the old Godsticks stuff used to be a lot more like fusion-y type thing, so like the bass is like really out front. And I remember learning one of the tracks and just posting it on YouTube, and then the bass player seen it, and he was leaving anyway, so he just obviously put the video through to the guys and said, get this guy, or let him try out. And that's basically what I did. We went down for I think a mini rehearsal type thing. They only had about 3 or 4 songs then anyway. So that was it really, and I think that was about 10 years ago now. So they haven't got rid of me yet.
Recently, you guys released earlier this year Inescapable in February.
Yeah.
And I had a chance to listen to some of the music, and part of what I would say is that the bass has a very prominent and important part of this. I mean, not only is it melodic, but it is very percussive and driving of the kind of music. And that is true both in Denigrate, which is a very interesting video with lots of, for those baking fans, lots of flying flutter and pieces of cake and whatnot. Going down even to the smoother and quieter Surrender, there's still a very prominent skeleton of the bass, which stands out. And it's a lot of times, I think, whether it's the engineer that mixes it down so that you know it's there, but you don't feel it quite as clearly. With your playing, it's coming across crystal clear. And again, in the video, I noticed, we'd been talking a little before we were conversing, that in this particular type of music, a pick is called for, and you're getting some of those sharp, penetrating, very crystal clear notes.
Yeah, because a lot of the stuff I always try it on fingers first, and it's kind of then the reality of when you're doing it and you're going, it's just not working. It just doesn't have the right thing. It's funny, like the sound on its own isn't that nice, but it's when you put it into the mix, that's when you hear it working. So yeah, like with the pick, for our stuff, it's really important. I would try not to use it, but it's more important about the music, I guess. So
I always like people to try to discover music on their own, but the general concept around Inescapable, what are you guys communicating?
Oh, now you're asking. There is a whole theme to the album, but that's really Darren, the singer, guitarist. He's put that together, and kind of like all the songs, they have meaning to him, like him and his growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't really tell you what they are.
Well, the important part is that you do your part, and that colors and shapes the concept that he's bringing forth nicely.
Yeah, I think it's funny because the lyrics, they don't really get finalized until even after the music was recorded. The lyrics were being and vocals recorded right up until the deadline. So it's kind of, you're always dictated by the mood of the lyrics rather than what the actual words are, for me anyway.
This would probably be a really good point to talk about your sound. How are you getting your sound? What gear are you using? So
for this record, the main bass on probably about 7 of the 10 tracks was a Music Man Stingray 5. It's like one of the newer ones. With all the stuff on that, I don't know how to work, but it just sounds great when you turn it, put it all flat and turn it on. The ingredient is I've been using the Axe-Fx, the AX8 model, which is the floor model, and basically just been doing a dual signal on there. So kind of mimicking like an Ampeg type rig, quite heavily distorted, then mixed in with a clean signal. Nice. And that's the basis of the sound, really.
Do you have a particular taste in strings?
Yeah, I do actually, and it's kind of dictated by all the other strings I've used seem to dry my hands out. So I can only use the Jim Dunlop Super Brights. I normally use like 45 to 125.
Are there any other particular elements in your sound chain that help you get your unique sound?
I would just say I think everyone has what they hear music to be. So whenever I'm going to play something, I know kind of what I've got to do with my right hand or left hand to try and get the best possible signal, or it's the best possible way of achieving that then with the extra tools.
Gotcha.
So I think, for me that's really important. Like I know that, and especially when playing different basses, I have different ways I know the sounds come out. You kind of know the kinks and that of each bass that you've got and where to play best on them to get certain sounds.
I think that's one of the reasons that there are so many basses, in that, for example, if you're playing with like a Thunderbird, which you've got this big, heavy, 13-pound mahogany wood block, you're getting a certain kind of resonance as compared to like that Music Man Stingray. If yours is anything like the one that I tried, it's actually a lovely lightweight. I think it came in around 8 pounds or something.
Yeah, I think that's like mine, yeah.
So you have different wood characteristics, what they've done with the electronics. If you've got the version that has the double humbuckers, the HH configuration, you can adjust even within, just with the flick of a lever, you can change how it is picking up, and it'll give you either more bridge or more neck pickup, or the balance of those in between. So there's just so many possibilities, and you can add so many other variables. Now, there is always one question I've been asking a lot of people, and that is, you've got your instrument, you've got your special strings, instrument cable. Are you using anything particular to get your sound from your instrument to your amplifier or to the...
Well, I am a bit of a snob when it comes to cables, only because I've had so much experience of bad ones breaking. So there's a guy in the UK who has unfortunately just retired. I can't get my cables anymore, but it was called Rockwire. For years now, I've always had any type of cable off him. You build it, and I'm still using the ones that I've been using for the last 6-7 years. So yeah, I'm a bit of a cable snob when it comes to that.
There you go. Well, again, people have put so much attention on the purity of the signal and the sound, and then when you're a touring musician, then you also put the stress of physical, taking a beating with things, getting stepped on and crimped and packed and unwound and everything that can happen to them. So you want something that is going to not let you down, because the last thing you want to discover is your cable's not working, before you go on stage and you're ready to perform. Moving along, and I know this is kind of with the times that we're in, a lot of touring, as we were just talking, normally you would be performing tomorrow, but with the coronavirus closures and things, a lot has come kind of to a screeching halt. But other than the unforeseeable future, what plans does Godsticks and what do you have coming up?
Well, yeah, we were supposed to do a couple of gigs now in the next couple of days, but that's been cancelled. We rearranged them, I think, for the end of December.
Okay.
So hopefully things might be okay to go back on. And then we've got a couple of festivals across Europe coming up in Portugal, Italy and Holland. Obviously, that'll be dependent now on how quickly we can get back out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But in terms of plans, I think we really set aside from this album is we really wanted to get on playing more. Because we've always been a band that kind of, we liked being in the studio. We liked working on things for like a year. And because this album it took about a year to get from the start to the finish. So we really like doing that. But I think we really try to make an effort now to go out a bit more and do some more gigs, it was looking good this year. But obviously, yeah, we just don't know what's going to happen now.
Gotcha. And I guess a relevant question also would be, now that you're not particular gigging, what are you doing in the meantime?
Well, we're all just sat at home crying about having no work. No, I think we're always writing, so that's regardless of the situation, we're always doing that anyway. And like as like what we're saying with this conversation, the way technology is now, I don't think, apart from when we've gone into the studio, we've never wrote in a room together, all of us. We've always been a band of send that across, and work it out like that. But we are maybe looking at reworking a few of our older songs just to put things out really in the downtime.
Gotcha.
You know, reworking them more in a like acoustic type of style and seeing how that works out.
It is one of the great things. Fortunately, you know, if you look back, if this same event would have happened, I don't know, 20 years ago, before we had all the good internet and the tools and ways like Skype or things that we could communicate, I'm seeing a lot more apps where you can have multiple windows. I know Zoom is getting used an awful lot, and it's making us adapt. I'm looking actually kind of forward to seeing what gets created during this period, you know, because again, it does allow people some time to maybe refocus and think about what's important and what needs to be said, and, you know, kind of reassess our existence, if you will. So, Dan, appreciate you taking time out of what would normally be your busy schedule. We'd planned this well in advance. Folks, you've seen him here. Dan Nelson, coming to you live on Bass Musician Magazine.